On today's episode of Reading the Royals, I follow Catherine on her road to recovery, from her last public appearance all the way to her triumphant return and all the controversial moments in between. Ultimately, Catherine's journey symbolises one of hope for fellow cancer patients.
After 9 brutal months of surgeries, chemotherapy, and a whirlwind of online chaos, she emerged smiling. Recently, the world finally exhaled. Catherine and Princess of Wales announced she had completed her chemotherapy treatment. But she did not make this declaration through a formal press release or palace statement. She chose something far more personal, a quiet family video filmed on the Norfolk coastline, where her children could be seen running barefoot across hay bales and chasing waves in the breeze. Her message was calm, direct, and emotional. "I am now focused on staying cancer-free and gradually returning to work." This was not just a health update. This was a victory cry from a future queen who had faced down cancer and the cruelty of the internet and won on her own terms. The trolls had screamed, the tabloids had speculated, and the world had watched. But Catherine, she had stayed silent, healed in private, and reappeared stronger than ever, graceful, composed, undefeated. It was March 22nd, 2024, a quiet spring afternoon in Windsor, when the princess sat alone on a simple wooden bench, daffodils blooming around her. Then she spoke. For the first time, Catherine herself confirmed the whispers. "In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery. Tests after the operation found that I had cancer." Her voice trembled but never cracked. Her hands rested gently in her lap. No palace spin, no royal protocol, just raw honesty. She revealed she had begun preventative chemotherapy in February, a course of treatment meant to reduce the risk of the cancer returning. No details were shared about the type or stage. Why? Because it did not matter. What mattered was that the Princess of Wales was taking back the narrative, choosing to speak not when the tabloids demanded it, but when she was ready. The video stunned the world. It was instantly broadcast across continents, from BBC to CNN, from Tokyo to Toronto. Messages poured in from celebrities, world leaders, and millions of ordinary people who saw in her a symbol of quiet strength. But while the world wept, the internet roared. Within hours, trolls flooded social media, claiming the video was AI-generated. Conspiracy theorists accused her of faking illness, hiding overseas, even being replaced. One doctored clip even pasted Princess Diana's face over Catherine's, trying to prove deepfake technology had fooled everyone. It was disgusting. It was relentless. But as the trolls sank lower, Catherine rose higher. While the public speculated wildly, the real battle had already begun, in silence. It all started on January 16th, 2024, when Catherine was quietly admitted to the London Clinic, a discreet 56-room private hospital known for treating royals. The official announcement? Planned abdominal surgery. Nothing more. Behind closed doors, however, a storm was brewing. The surgery was successful, but what doctors found afterward changed everything. It was only after that operation that cancer was discovered. Catherine was not just recovering from a procedure, she was entering the darkest chapter of her life. Yet she said nothing, not a whisper, no headlines, no photo ops. Catherine returned home to Adelaide Cottage, her movements hidden behind blacked-out windows. Every step she took from then on was on her own terms. No press briefings, no dramatics, just quiet, personal endurance. Meanwhile, Prince William became her shield, juggling royal duties, 3 young children, and the emotional weight of a diagnosis that would terrify any family. As the world waited for answers, Catherine was already charting a path through chemotherapy, pain, and uncertainty. And she was doing it out of sight, for herself, for her children, and for the dignity the crown never demanded. But she gave anyway. As Catherine quietly fought for her life, the internet began devouring her absence like a hungry beast. Where is she? Why hasn't she been seen? Is she even alive? Hashtags like #Where's Kate Middleton began trending. Theories exploded across TikTok, Reddit, and X like wildfire. Some claimed she was recovering from plastic surgery. Others said she had been replaced by a body double. A few went full sci-fi. that she was secretly Banksy, or worse, in a coma after a failed surgery in Brazil. One Spanish TV station even aired a completely false report that she was in a vegetative state. Meanwhile, celebrities joined the circus. Kim Kardashian posted a selfie with the caption, "On my way to find Kate." Then came the Mother's Day photo, a sweet image of Catherine surrounded by her children, posted to reassure the public. But royal watchers zoomed in and turned it into a national scandal. Charlotte's sleeve looked off. Louis's hand appeared blurry. The ledge in the background? Crooked. Major photo agencies, Reuters, Getty, AFP, pulled the image and issued kill notices, calling it manipulated. The internet erupted. The next day, Catherine did the unthinkable. She posted a personal apology. Like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with editing. That humble post, signed simply C, was seen by 38 million people, and instead of extinguishing the fire, it poured gasoline on it. Trolls turned savage. Some claimed she was being held in a psychiatric hospital. Others said she had already died and been secretly cremated. And yet, Catherine said nothing more. She endured. A mother of 3, a future queen, a cancer patient, now also a punching bag for internet outrage. While most would have broken, Catherine simply stayed the course. Not for clicks, not for pity, but for something far more important: her children's peace of mind. While Catherine disappeared from public view, Prince William became the lightning rod for all the anger, suspicion, and obsession aimed at the royal family. On February 18th, he walked the BAFTA red carpet alone, a haunting image for fans who had grown used to seeing the couple as a unit. The following week, William pulled out of a memorial service for his godfather, King Constantine of Greece, citing personal matters. That's when the internet lost it. The theories went from unhinged to unholy. But what the public did not know, around that time, Catherine had just begun her first chemotherapy session. While trolls were screaming for her to show herself, William was likely sitting by her side, holding her hand as the IV dripped poison into her veins. When asked to explain, the palace stood firm. "We made clear in January the timeline for the princess's recovery." But silence is fuel for conspiracy, and William, the once unshakable prince, now faced the full weight of royal expectation, public suspicion, and personal heartbreak. All at once, he smiled at galas. He posed with Tom Cruise. He waved from podiums. But behind the scenes, he was a husband watching his wife fight cancer, and a father shielding his children from a world that was starting to turn cruel. In the face of trolls, tabloids, and even internal palace pressures, William never cracked. He became the anchor, the protector, and the steady face of a monarchy trying not to collapse. Shall we move into part 6, the return of the princess, chemotherapy, courage, and a nation's relief? This is where the tone lifts, and Catherine begins reappearing with quiet but powerful grace. And then, she returned. On June 14th, Catherine offered the world its first hopeful update. "I'm making good progress," she said, acknowledging the grueling toll of chemotherapy, the good days, the bad days, the emotional roller coaster. The image released alongside her words said everything. Standing tall against an old oak tree, sunlight pouring through the leaves, she looked serene, not flawless, but fearless. Nature had become her sanctuary, and in that moment, the public exhaled. But it was Trooping the Color 2024 that turned whispers of recovery into a national celebration. Riding in a glass carriage, dressed in regal white, Catherine waved to thousands lining the mall. Crowds erupted, flags waved, strangers cried, and her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, beamed at her side. It was meant to be the king's birthday celebration. But make no mistake, that day belonged to her. Later that summer at Wimbledon, Catherine presented the men's singles trophy to Carlos Alcaraz and delivered quiet encouragement to the runners-up. "Keep your head up high," she whispered, words no doubt forged in her own fire. She stood as a woman who had faced death, digital abuse, and public dissection, and walked back into the spotlight on her own terms. In those moments, Catherine was not just a princess. She was a symbol of grace under fire, of dignity in the age of digital cruelty, and of the quiet, unshakable power of a woman choosing to rise. While Catherine battled cancer behind palace walls, One extraordinary young woman was fighting her own, with a camera in her hands and a deadline no doctor could change. Her name was Liz Hatton, a brilliant, spirited photographer diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer. She made a bucket list. On it, one bold dream: to photograph a royal investiture. When Prince William heard her story, he did not just grant her wish. He invited Liz to Windsor Castle, gave her full access to a ceremony, and then, in a twist no one saw coming, brought in Catherine for tea. The moment was intimate, quiet, no press, no fanfare, just one woman in remission, meeting one woman dying, connected by a fight only they understood. Later, when Liz passed away in November 2024, her family revealed that Catherine and William had stayed in touch the entire time. They had sent messages, checked in, supported the family privately. At Liz's memorial, her little brother Mateo gave the couple 2 Jellycat plush toys, Liz's favorite, with a note: "She would have wanted you to have these." It was not a royal duty. It was not a PR stunt. It was compassion, quietly shown by a woman the tabloids had tried to dehumanize. In a year where Catherine had been reduced to rumors, edits, and hashtags, this moment was real. No cameras, no headlines. Just 2 women, one journey, and a deep understanding that cancer does not care who you are, princess or not. By December 2024, Catherine had endured more than most endure in a lifetime. But as the year came to a close, she returned to where it all began, both literally and symbolically. The Princess of Wales was once again seen walking to the Christmas Day service at Sandringham, the very same event that had marked her last public appearance before her cancer diagnosis a year earlier. This time she wore emerald green, radiating calm, elegance, and survival. But it was not her coat that drew tears. It was her children. George, Charlotte, and Louis clung to their mother, smiling, relieved, whole again. The fear that had gripped their little hearts for the past year was fading. Their mother was back, not just alive, but present, grounded, joyful. That day, young Prince Louis left a handwritten note on a kindness tree at the Boopley's Christmas Carol service. It read, "Thank you, Granny and Grandpa, for playing games with me." A simple message, maybe, but to Catherine and William, it meant everything. It was proof that even in the darkest days, family held, that love endured, that joy returned. In this tender, full-circle moment, the princess reminded the nation, and perhaps herself, that true healing is not just medical, it is emotional. She had battled cancer, she had battled trolls, but the fight to preserve the innocence of her children, that was her most sacred victory of all. On January 14th, 2025, nearly 1 year to the day she was first admitted to hospital, Catherine walked into the Royal Marsden Hospital, not as a patient, but as a survivor. She met with staff, thanked the doctors who had treated her, and stood shoulder to shoulder with those still fighting cancer. Then came the announcement. She would now serve as joint royal patron of the Marsden, a title once held by Princess Diana. It was more than ceremonial. It was symbolic. Catherine was back, not just in body, but in purpose. Though the palace has remained vague about the exact type or stage of her cancer, Catherine herself has been clear about one thing: she will not be rushed. Recovery is not linear, she told patients. It takes time to find your new normal. And yet every appearance, from Trooping the Color to Wimbledon, from quiet walks in nature to emotional hospital visits, shows a woman gradually reclaiming her life, her voice, and her crown. No splashy headlines, no vanity tours, just the steady, thoughtful return of a woman who understands that in an age of chaos, dignity is power. She does not chase sympathy. She does not scream back at trolls. She simply lives with grace for her children, her country, and herself. This is not the story of a princess fighting cancer. This is the story of a queen in waiting, tested by fire and quietly unstoppable. 18 months ago, she vanished from the spotlight, a princess disappearing into whispers, surgery, and silence. Today, she stands in remission. But this is not a fairy tale. There was no magic wand, no royal shortcut, no palace immunity. Just a woman, a mother, a wife, fighting through fear, grief, and public cruelty, one day at a time. Catherine's year was a furnace, forged in chemotherapy, paparazzi intrusion, and online harassment, but she emerged from it not bitter, just stronger, wiser, more focused. In an era where fame is measured by noise, she chose quiet resilience. Where others would have spun narratives, she spoke the truth, only when she was ready. Where trolls mocked her, she stood taller. And in doing so, Catherine of Wales didn't just defeat cancer. She rewrote what it means to be royal in the 21st century. A queen is not crowned in jewels alone, but in how she walks through fire and still chooses love. And Catherine, she walked through hell and came back holding her children's hands. If you were moved by Catherine's courage, let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more stories of resilience, royalty, and reality. This was a year the world won't forget, and neither will she.